Sorry, I got more bad RAM news for you, but speaking of RAM, you can buy a Ford on Amazon now, and AMD flinches first. They're hiking the prices of their graphics cards. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. This is Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Allegedly, according to the words on the street known as Half-Life 3 Day, there's a lot of copium going on around right now, just in case you weren't aware. But also, you're probably aware of all of the price hikes going on with RAM. It's very, very expensive to get it. By the way, we're giving away whole computers over on Twitch, which happen to include RAM from a happier time. So you could go twitch.tv/UFD Tech, twitch.tv/UFD Music. We got computers for you. Anyways, but Samsung being reported that they're increasing the pricing yet again. According to Reuters, 30 to 60% price increases since September. Their contract prices for 32 gigs of DDR5 went from $149 to $239. 16 and 128 gigabyte modules have also been seen with increases around 50%, and the shortage has reportedly resulted in panic buying from some customers, which we discussed in yesterday's episode of Hot News, that it is just resulting in a lot of companies gobbling it up. Not necessarily consumers doing the panic buying, but rather the companies that sell computers need RAM for said computers, so they're happening to do all of that. But that's not the only report that we have about the increase in price. TrendForce also putting out their notice of cost of bill of materials in notebooks, which also indicates that there's a 12 to 20+% price hike on all of that. So it doesn't look like it's going to alleviate anytime soon. There were a lot of comments yesterday about this whole RAM situation. I'll deal with those in comment response at the end of this video, but it does appear like there's going to be a lot of sniffling from all the tears you're going to be shedding over RAM pricing, which you wish you could download more. But while you're doing that sniffling, you're probably going to inhale some sense, and you should probably get some good ones with today's video sponsor. For about half of the world, including Pittsburgh, where UFD USA is stationed, it's getting colder. That means more time trapped inside with gross recirculated air. Pretty much a horrible time to not smell good, because everyone will know who's a little stinky. Kyler. It's Kyler. Lucky for you and my lads back over in Pittsburgh, today's sponsor, Scentbird, is keeping the fragrances flowing. Scentbird is a great way to keep yourself smelling fresh because they make it easy to explore the overwhelming world of fragrances. By delivering you 30-day supplies of fragrances from their over 900 options straight to your door on a monthly basis, you don't have to feel tied down. Plus, the Scentbird packaging is the perfect size for keeping on you throughout the day. For us this month, Scentbird hooked us up with some autumn-ready scents. First up is number 4 from Leather Vintage Label, Deep Leather. As you can guess, this is a full-bodied and warm fragrance with notes of leather, salt, and amber. Great for smelling good for any fall-time holiday dinners. Also from Leather Vintage Label, we have number 3, Indigo Blend. Still warm, but with more herbal notes. Sage and vetiver offer a subtle spice, with sandalwood rounding off for some subtle earthy sweetness. Great for everyday wear while the leaves are falling. Now, while I'm normally a joker, Heretic's Midnight Toker has me feeling rather serious, or at least that's what the boys in the US are telling me. The notes of tobacco and clove blend for an earthy and warm fragrance, sweetened at the end with hints of vanilla. If you're going out for the evening or have some big dinner plans, reach for this one. And last but certainly not least, we have Gentleman's Society by Givenchy. This is probably the most complex scent from this month's selection, with leading notes of sage and daffodil for an herby and floral start, supported with vetiver and sandalwood for an earthy and warm middle, again finished with some sweet and warm vanilla. The warm floral vibe this scent gives makes this a great everyday wear. Now, if you're not like me and you don't have a gaggle of cologne enjoying Zoomers helping you out, you're in luck. Scentbird offers all the help you should need through their quick and easy quiz. You can get personalized suggestions based on preferences and encouragement to get experimental. If you're interested in trying Scentbird, scan the QR code or use the link below. And with my coupon code 55UFDTech, you'll get 55% off at Scentbird. Plus, you'll get free delivery to your door and a free case. You get the product for half of the price. That's just $9. That's a steal. Thanks to Scentbird for sponsoring. Well, while the boys over in America are trying different scents on their person, these motherboard companies are trying different tactics to make sure that they're having better sales despite the amount of shortages that are going on with RAM. Reportedly, there are a bunch of companies that are making it so that if you want to buy some RAM, you gotta buy a motherboard with it. The shortage is going on, you're gonna need the RAM, and hey, just buy a motherboard while you're at it. So the companies that are allegedly in practice of this is Asus, Gigabyte, MSI, and chain tech who are requiring that you have to get a whole bunch of stuff in a little combo deal so that they can reflect better sales, likely because the sales are going to dip later on after, you know, this entire shortage really hits the market. So again, just if you were wanting to build a PC, it doesn't look like there's a reason to wait for purchasing RAM. It looks like if you were gonna buy a Black Friday setup, now is probably cheaper than Black Friday is gonna be. Again, that's just speculation. Don't necessarily panic buy. Don't buy RAM if you weren't gonna buy it anyways, just because you're afraid of what it might mean later next year. Things could change very quickly. Again, we'll talk about this at the end of Hot News, but speaking of being able to buy stuff, you can now buy used Ford over on Amazon. Amazon expanding their autos program, which used to be just kind of Hyundai. You could buy or lease Hyundai cars from Amazon Auto. Now, pre-owned Fords are available for Los Angeles, Seattle, and Dallas. You could pick those up. I've seen that they have this program. I've seen Amazon Auto where you can get all of these various different vehicles. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works with financing. Never really investigated it. I've owned a couple Hyundais in my day, and kind of always went to the dealership for it. Let me know if you've considered Amazon Auto. Is it a thing that you're looking at to pick up a new Hyundai Venue? Let me know down below in the comments while Reece starts trying to save you money at least on some tech products.
Yo, welcome back. Here's your first deal. Starting off, we have the NZXT Lift Elite Wireless Gaming Mouse, available in white for only $19.99, making it $60 off. But then up next, we have the Keychron Q1 Wired 75% hard swappable mechanical keyboard for $79.99, making it $130 off. For $100 total, you can get a really cool peripheral set. And then last, we have the HyperX Quadcast 2S multi-pattern USB condenser microphone, going for $139.99, making it $60 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. Until next time, I'm gonna hand you back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, it looks like Microsoft is getting the best deal of all time when it comes to OpenAI, because there's new leaked documents indicating how much Microsoft is being paid by OpenAI with regards to just being able to shove their stuff into Microsoft services. So, reportedly, in 2024, Microsoft received $500 million in revenue share payments from OpenAI, and in the first 3 quarters of this year, it was $0.86 billion. So getting very close to that $1 billion mark, likely to cross that with the last quarter of 2025. And that comes because OpenAI supposedly shares 20% of their net revenue with Microsoft as part of a deal for the investment that Microsoft gave them. However, all of this money is their net revenue share, not gross revenue share, and it doesn't include money paid to Microsoft for their Bing or Azure OpenAI royalties. So there's partly money that OpenAI is spending to Microsoft that is making it so that there's more, but it's not this almost $1 billion figure. And let's remind ourselves that Microsoft and OpenAI restructured their deal recently, which makes it so that Microsoft, if OpenAI goes belly up, gets all of their IP. So it seems like they're not necessarily betting on AGI, they're just betting that they'll benefit from OpenAI at some point in the future. And unfortunately, gamers are no longer benefiting from the cheaper AMD GPU prices that have been hitting the streets. You may have noticed that MSRP has been attainable for certain 9070 and 9070 XTs out there on the market. You could go over on Newegg right now and they have a Black Friday protection price on the 9070 XT Challenger for $600. The Steel Legends going for $620. Looks like mostly ASRock cards are hitting that, but it was a long while after the launch of these cards that we were finally getting MSRP, but reportedly, AMD's telling their board partners, get ready, because price hikes are indeed coming thanks to the price increases of the VRAM modules that they're using in their graphics cards. So AMD has confirmed that due to a substantial increase in memory procurement prices, the next shipment price for GPUs and memory will increase, with a larger increase potentially affecting all models. The specific amount and implementation time are not yet confirmed, but it does look like this is going to be happening. You know, this is one of the curious things about the RX 9000 series GPUs. AMD intentionally went with a older VRAM setup with GDDR6, not even 6X, definitely not 7, allegedly to save money on both the VRAM modules, as well as not having to redesign the memory controller on the new architecture for RDNA 4. But the problem with that is that it looks like they've never been financially able to hit the price targets that they set for these cards, and now that they are, they're raising pricing at least according to the reports coming out, before Nvidia is, who is paying for the more expensive GDDR7. So it's strange that AMD went through all this effort to keep things cost sensitive, and then now is the company that we're regarding as not being able to hit MSRP, and then as soon as they did, they're jacking the prices back up again because of bad market conditions. So not necessarily looking too good for gamers out there. This is not likely to stop with AMD. Let's be very clear about that. Nvidia likely to increase their pricing sometime soon if things continue the way that they do with the memory pricing. However, again, with RTX 50 series, they're at below MSRP pricing. The 5070s at $489. You can find 5070 Ti's below the $749 price point. It's like at the perfect time when things were finally going below what people thought were too expensive for these cards, now making it so that they're gonna allegedly go back up. Also, I just want to comment, I received a comment about this a while ago where I talked about 5070 Ti's being below MSRP, and somebody was like, no, they're not below MSRP. They're finally costing what they should have. And it's like, MSRP is it's a manufacturer suggested retail pricing. It's like an objective thing. It's like, this is what they say it should cost. I'm not saying that's what it should cost. That's just what the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing is, and now it is below that. I'm not saying that the price is reasonable. I'm saying it's below MSRP. It's an objective, factual. Sometimes your comments are wild, which let's see what you had to say in yesterday's episode. We got this one saying, me with an 11-year-old desktop and needs to upgrade, and it's the worst possible time. For extra context, I'm in Spain. If you think that $300 is too much for 32 gigabytes, then here it's about €400 for a basic kit with some Expo and XMP. Some kits going well into €500. Don't get me started on 64 gigabyte every PC part is basically about $100 plus over here compared to America. I feel your pain, man. Probably not to the extent that you do. Obviously, I'm not an 11-year-old PC, but I have yet to build a computer since moving to South Africa because we've just been putting our money elsewhere with like the build out of the South African office, and then Twitch stopped paying us, which is great, which we're going to survive as a company. We're totally capable of doing that, but it does put a little bit of a barrier. Like, I want to review the 7500X3D, but I need a motherboard, I need RAM, I need a power supply, I need a case, I need everything in order to be able to do that. And prices here are, more expensive than the United States. And so it's a little tricky. And prices of RAM have absolutely gone up. We are looking at, $300 to $400 for a 32 gigabyte kit. It's not necessarily pretty here as well. So hopefully you can get something. And then we got Gonermy Leggy is talking about something I think is an important note when it comes to why RAM production is not going to increase, saying, considering how volatile flash memory prices are, I really can't blame the manufacturers for holding off on increasing production. Hopefully they will if this demand holds through the end of the year. Like, I saw a comment that somebody said that was to the effect of like, oh, this is what like oil companies do. They don't increase output when prices are going up because then that way they can keep the prices high. But it's not quite the same at all. Like, in order for these companies to output more RAM, it is a much more technically complicated process than barreling more oil. And the amount of comments that we also see of like, this is an AI bubble, the bubble's gonna pop, all these companies are doing things that aren't gonna be profitable in the long run. RAM companies see that too. Like, they're aware of all of the things that like the consumers are aware of. So on the one hand, consumers are saying produce more, but also it's a bubble, so it's gonna pop, and they have to weigh that, because if they choose to increase production, they could get stuck with the short end of the stick of having this oversupply and then being unprofitable in 2026 because they decided to ramp up supply when it was at the peak of everything. It's a complicated economic situation. It is not as simple as just flip a switch and you got more RAM coming out of a factory. Additionally, like, there is historical trauma when it comes to this type of RAM situation. This is not the first time there has been a shortage of RAM. We've seen this before with things like the crypto mining crazes, where VRAM was in such short supply due to people gobbling up these graphics cards, and they increased production and then got burnt for years afterwards due to the excess of supply. So I'm not saying that, they're not gonna take their opportunity to make more profit while they possibly can, but at the same time, they have to look at the economic incentives, not just for this quarter, but also for upcoming future. Like, they don't want to screw themselves in 2026 and 2027. And we got Tristan saying, how are you coping with the 4-hour load shedding in South Africa? There isn't any load shedding right now. Power's fine. We have power. And it's fine. In fact, the power's gone out more at the Pittsburgh office since I moved here than it has here. Just a little fun fact. I don't know if you're from South Africa, Tristan, or what, but also like I've noticed some South Africans think that because they've lost power, that means there is load shedding. And load shedding is like a systemic thing coming from the power company. There are other reasons to lose power, and they're not all load shedding, but regardless, there's no 4-hour load shedding. There is no load shedding in South Africa right now, and the power stayed on. I haven't had a day where I have lost power, so I don't know. Things are going great, and I'm gonna greatly end this episode of Hot News. See you back here for more of the Hot Tech News later this week.